My name is Susan Rainier. I'm a California licensed architect. I'm on the leadership committee for the United States Green Building Council. I'm also an accredited Living Future Institute individual. I'm a member of Sierra Club and I'm a member of Greenpeace. We are at a point in time where we need worldwide attention to living on the planet without spoiling it. What has happened to the love of nature? Hasn't every one of us, in our own ways, when we needed to find ourselves, gone to some beautiful place in nature to find that peace and that inner voice inside of ourselves? Where's the respect for Mother Nature? I believe that media is part of America's problem specifically. You become what you consume, even in your mind. Impressions, music, all go into the mind to make it a certain way. The kind of shows that are on TV right now do not encourage living in the present moment. They would be a lot more interesting and if they could show true reality, programming of best practices and what is actually happening with climate change. To have a phrase that says positively entertaining and have the most heinous negative crimes be shown on TV is destroying our culture. It's a sociological issue. To continue to deny climate change is a dumb and dumber conversation that is wasting precious time to unite for the transformational change that we need. Both the United Nations and White House have issued serious scientific documents that can no longer be disputed. I'm concerned about the distraction, the apathy, and not taking action. And finally, I'd like to say that we can, with a simple amendment, if Obama would do it or any state leader of the world, make ecocide a crime against humanity and peace, a UN world law.
Well, I'm Guy Hall of Sacramento Electric Vehicles. I'm sure many of you have heard a lot about electric vehicles and how they can help reduce greenhouse gases, particulates, improve the health and quality of our air, and of course attack the amount of oil that we consume, both foreign and domestic. But what I want to give you is some surprises about electric vehicles, that they are fun, a real kick to drive. They're terrific to drive. They're peppy, they're fast, they're smooth. You got to watch out for going above the speed limit because you can get there real quick and not even realize it. So they can be ticket bait, but they're fun to drive. They're cheaper than gas cars, to the point that many people take their gas mileage off an old existing car, and they'll cover the cost of a new electric car, so a free electric car. They're incredibly safe. Some of the electric cars have broken the testing machines for safety. The crush machine broke before it could crush the car. So they're highly safe, and they help with local jobs as well. Instead of petrodollars going outside of the country or outside of the region, we're paying for engineers and electricity locally. So take another look at electric cars when you're thinking about buying a new car or a used car. And there's a lot of resources out there to help you with that decision. Thank you.
Start. My name is Glenn Destad. I'm with the Sacramento Vegetarian Society Grange number 850, and as such, I'm a foodie. And one of the things that I found out recently, and I think that Eric may want to take note of this especially, a source of waste that I found out about that seems to be flying under the radar is household food waste. That means not, when I bring it up, people say, oh, I compost. Well, no. About 14% of the food that people bring home meant for consumption gets wasted. And that applies whether you're high income, middle income, or low income, which means that a typical household of four can waste several hundred to a couple of grand worth of food a year. NRDC has some excellent material on that, and there's also a pilot program that's up in the EPA district up in Kings County, Washington. But people like, policymakers, perhaps Kevin McCarty, who's going to be here later and is doing something on the conversion of waste to energy. These are all good things. Waste to energy, composting. But first, let's reduce that waste. And I think it cuts three ways. One is with all of the waste that goes into landfill that needs you have the mandated methane emissions on site. It's social responsibility. Why transport stuff several hundred miles only to cart it off? Second of all, it's a personal savings to each member of each household. And I think the last thing is they did some polling and they gave people a list of items that they felt most guilty about that adversely affect the environment. Number one, 38% said they felt guilty about wasting food. It's an opportunity. It needs to be done. And by golly, I made it in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Larry Ladd. I'm with the Community Advisor Group of Aerojet Superfund site issues up the road in Rancho Cordova. 20 years ago, I spent a lot of time at UC Davis and Penn State studying global warming. And most of the issues that have come up since then have not been surprises. West Antarctica, we were talking about 20 years ago. The Arctic sea ice was a surprise. The methane rate didn't increase as much as we expected in the late 1990s. But I just wanted to point out to all of you who are interested is we're due for another El Nino in the next year or two. Hopefully it will bring more rain to California. But El Ninos are always when your global temperature spikes. So if we're all concerned about runaway global warming, probably the best single indicator of how quickly the runaway is running is how high the global temperature will be during the next upcoming El Nino. So I just wanted to throw that out there for your awareness.
Hi, I'm Cindy Blaine. I'm with the Sacramento Tree Foundation. Thank you all for your support of trees over the years. As a matter of fact, I'd like to say that we're incredibly lucky here in Sacramento to have the SMUD support our trees. There is no other program like it in the United States, I have to tell you. There's a lot we can say about trees. One thing I wanted to point out specifically this morning, because I know we'll talk about it later, is we're talking about all these solutions, and one of them is solar. It's very interesting that it's growing faster than cell phones. And that's wonderful. One of the things we have to be careful of as we talk new innovations is how does it impact our trees? Eric was talking about what's happening in San Diego, where they're putting in so many solar panels on homes that they're tearing out trees to allow for the sun to hit the house. Now, I don't believe we would do that here, but we have to be careful. There's also compact development. We're all in favor of compact development, but if there's not enough room for the trees, and we all have to realize it's big trees. It's not little lollipop trees that are going to do this. So we have to weave a careful path to make sure that we have green areas for the health of our communities, because we're not just talking energy savings. We're talking all of the impacts on public health, which is cardiovascular, air quality, and therefore respiratory. So think about that while you're doing this, and be sure to come talk to us if you have any questions. Thank you.
Hello, hope you can see me. Kind of short. Anyway, my name is Susan Wilkie. I live in Sacramento, and I'm concerned how systems are set up that we aren't even aware of how they may be impacting us. For example, I hope that SMUD, the representatives from SMUD, will tell more about the effects of the smart meters. I found that I have 9 smart meters on the opposite side of where my bed was in the condo unit that I have. And I found upon inspection that there were 13 on the adjoining building. And then I found there's a book, I just started reading it, called Zapped, with a lot of information about the effects of hazardous emissions that we're not even aware of their effect with our smart meters, our smartphones, and so forth, and the impact they have on us and our children, and those of you who want to get pregnant, what it can do to your fetuses, and also to the male reproductive organs. Anyway, our whole species is being impacted by these machines and things that we're using where we don't know the final effects of them and the impact of the large use of them, because I've heard that Obama wants us to have a green wants us to be a green country with these emissions points all over. If you look online, you can even find how many different control powers. And when you look online, go on the internet, and you can look up, I'm sorry I don't have the information on hand, as to how many power stations, how many things that that are near you and impacting you in a very negative sense. I have a chronic illness. Having 9 smart meters on the opposite side of my wall is not a good thing. So look at yourself, and you can change it. Check with SMUD. They can give you your old meter back. They'll charge you, though. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yeshua from the Sacramento Sustainability Forum. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. I encourage us all to reflect back. A few years ago, the mayor had spoke at the State of the Union, and he had mentioned in Sacramento that we are the Emerald Valley. This is our vision, that we're farm to fork, green technology, city of trees, many things along these lines, and I think it's something to come back to. So I'm going to give us 30 seconds right now of my precious time, and if we could just close our eyes for 30 seconds and just think, what is your grandest vision of Sacramento? What is our shared vision? So let's just think about that right now. What is the grandest vision you have? Sorry to pull you back from your imaginary world, but that's the place really. If we can imagine that and hold that space more often, we'll get there much faster. So I encourage us all to ask that question, what's our shared vision? Imagine that, see that, hold that in that space, and then we can bring that back into the physical world. The Sacramento Sustainability Forum, the way I'm doing that personally is we're coming together monthly to do things like this, along with adding like a festival environment to it to make sustainability fun, engaging, and lively. So nice to meet y'all.
Hello again. My name is Deborah Whitman. I'm president of Environmental Voices out of Davis. And I just, first of all, want to thank the organizers for putting this wonderful event on, and also for the people who took their Saturdays and are coming to this event. It makes me very happy to see people coming out and speaking out against issues. So I have an announcement to make, and one is, this is the flyer, and I'll have some outside on geoengineeringwatch.org. I ask you to keep an open mind and do your research. And there's information about the health effects to these programs. I just went out to my car to get these flyers, and I witnessed these programs going on. There's a giant X, of which I photographed, and trails. A normal jet contrail goes away. These have equipment attached. They're aerosol spraying, making man-made clouds. So I'd like to talk to you afterwards. And we're bringing Dane Wigington to Sacramento at the North Natomas Library on May 30th from 7 to 9 p.m. And he will explain how climate engineering is going on in our atmosphere and the health and environmental effects of that. So hopefully you'll come to the event, and I have information about that as well. Thank you very much.
Well, I think that was a very successful Town Hall 1. We have Town Hall 2 coming up. I think you'll have a shorter period of time, but if you have ideas, solutions, questions, concerns, you can be heard the next time around. I think we have time for Mark Hertzgaard and Eric DeCock to comment on anything they've heard in the last little bit. Gentlemen, anything that stood out that you'd like to say something about?
I just want to say to the person who asked about climate parents, of course climate grandparents, of course. I'm not a grandparent, but if my math is right, everyone who is a grandparent is also a parent. So, right, you kind of have to be a parent first, I think, to be a grandparent. So we actually have, I don't run Climate Parents on a day-to-day basis. That's my terrific colleague Lisa Hoyos and a number of other people down in San Francisco. But I have been arguing from the beginning that we should have a Climate Grandparents Caucus inside of that. And truly also, I'd like to see in all the different organizations, the environmental organizations, a Climate Parents, Climate Grandparents Caucus within those groups, because I do think that parents bring a certain moral authority to this issue and a moral urgency. One of the things that, for me, when I became a parent, I'll never forget the day, about 10 days after my daughter was born, we had a very difficult delivery with her. We almost lost her in the first few days. When we got her back from the hospital, of course, you never let her out of your arms. And I remembered sitting there with her, reading her to sleep, and realizing as I looked down on her when she still fit between my wrist and my shoulder, and realizing that without hesitation I would throw myself in front of a train for this little person who 10 days before I had never met. That's the kind of fierce urgency that parents can bring to this crisis and the climate crisis. And so that's why we started Climate Parents. I think that Climate Parents could actually, if we can organize parents, mobilize and organize parents around climate, I think that could be a game changer. So I invite all of you to come check out the website, climateparents.org. Come and get involved. It doesn't mean you have to leave the Sierra Club or any of the other groups that you're involved with. Quite the contrary. We want to spread out through everywhere and help parents find their voice on this issue. I think a lot of parents, with all due respect, are still caught in what I call soft